Donald Trump's 10% tariff on UK products has officially come into force, with global stock markets plunging deeper into the red in response to the imposition of what really amount to import taxes. President Donald Trump announced global tariffs earlier this week on his so-called Liberation Day, as he claimed that the global trade system was unfair on the US and workers had suffered. Well, investment firm JP Morgan have warned that the odds of a global recession have now spiked from 40% to 60%, saying there will be blood. While America and China declared a trade war yesterday, Sir Keir Starmer is expected to spend the weekend speaking to global leaders as they attempt to navigate this, quote, new era in trade, which is putting it mildly. Earlier today, we had confirmation that President Netanyahu will visit Washington, D.C. on Monday to discuss tariffs. And to discuss all of this, I am pleased to welcome the spokesperson for Republicans overseas, JD Dambacher. JD, thank you for joining us. First of all, is the US heading for a recession here? Is this a big problem?
I think it's hard to say whether they're headed for a recession. People are talking about a world recession. They're talking about a recession in the US. JP Morgan just increased the probability of that. There's no doubt that the probability increased, but this is not a short-term change. This is transformational. We're talking about transactions, talking about it being transactional between individual countries. But at the end of the day, this is designed to be transformational of the world economy. Well,
transformational perhaps for the worst. I mean, we've just mentioned there, we've got China now engaging in a trade war with the US. I mean, it starts a little sort of Cold War, and then it can not escalate further down the line. I'm not saying we're going to be having missiles launched at each other tomorrow, but it's not helpful to have this sort of stuff happening already. We've only had this in place for, 24 hours or so.
I think you have to expect it. First of all, I think if you're evaluating the success of this move in 2 days' time and based on the stock market alone, that's the wrong way to look at it. Margaret Thatcher, Ronald Reagan, if you evaluated them on 2 days in office or 2 days after a major change, it would have been a failure as well. You've got to look into the future. China putting more tariffs, that's predictable, but can they maintain it? I don't think so. Their economy is in tatters, and to kill all exports to the U.S. Through this tariff war is not going to help them any. I think Europe has to worry that China is going to flood their markets with their products, trying to manufacture their way out of their recession.
Just going to bring in my co-host Renee, because you wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, hi. I was just wondering whether or not you've got feedback at the moment on how the American people are feeling. Are they going with him? Do they see it as a long-term project?
I think there's still work to be done in that regard. I think the Trump administration every day is out there telling them why they're doing this, trying to explain it to the American people. I think if you look at the politics in the United States, it's been 50-50 for a long time. That polarization is absolutely real. And if you look at who's designed this whole process and policy is designed to benefit, it's the 50% in the middle. I grew up in the Midwest. I've seen the jobs leave. My uncles were working in Ford factories. Those Ford factories don't exist anymore. The degradation of the economy in the middle with globalization is absolutely real to the benefit of the coasts. 50% of the Americans are definitely going to be with him and benefit from this. And I think the Trump administration really has the right long-term view and will weather it. And people say that the formulas were flawed and the execution is flawed. The reality is they needed to get it out fast and clean up a few of the things on the edges as they went, because we've got 4 years, and in 2 years there's midterms. They needed to start executing on this strategy quickly.
Will, you want to jump in?
Yeah, JD, I assume you've been part of the Republican movement for some time. This is a Republican Party that was once the party of Reagan, party that championed free markets and economic liberalism. Has it been personally difficult to transform into an economic 18th century protectionist in such a short period of time?
I don't see myself as changing into a protectionist necessarily. You're absolutely right. I've been a Republican for a long time. I do believe in free markets. I do think that one of the main goals of this, beyond bringing back manufacturing to the United States, one of the main goals is to create free trade, freer trade with countries that are outside of the China bloc. And I expect that you'll see the UK negotiate a better deal quickly. I think you'll see that the EU, maybe less quickly, will be in that trading bloc, and that there will still be free trade. But this is ultimately, in my view, transformational for the people in the middle of America, but also part of the global repositioning against communist China.
Can I just follow up on that? If, for example, countries like the UK, countries like Australia, for example, say we're dropping all tariffs, we're going to embrace free trade agreements with the US, for example, do you think that would be enough for Trump to reverse some of these tariff policies?
Well, I think if you look at Mexico and Canada, they have a free trade agreement, and they are subject to the steel tariffs, they're subject to the auto tariffs, but everything else goes through that free trade agreement. And I think that's what you could get to with Australia and the UK, which is much better than the 10% that's currently in place for the UK.
Jay, did you not accept that some of these tariffs that are a bit silly? I mean, they're effectively taxing coffee beans, which don't even grow in the US. They just made Starbucks more expensive. Other brands are available. They just made coffee more expensive for everyday Americans.
Again, if you had every politician, every bureaucrat looking at every single tariff and product that comes into the United States and done this with a scalpel and fine-tooth comb, it would never happen. You can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good here. And I think these things that are creating potentially bad consequences on the U.S., these things that don't seem correct when we talk about small islands in the Pacific that have penguins only, those things are going to be corrected. But at the moment, in order to get this started, to make this transformation start to happen, there needed to be action.
I'm curious about the timeline you see for this transformation, because as you said, there are midterms in 2 years and obviously another general election in just under 4. If this transformation takes longer than that, if it's a generational change, 10 years or whatever, in theory, isn't this going to punish Republicans at the ballot box?
It could, if the transformation happens and it has the economic benefits that it can have, then absolutely not. Again, you look back at the 1980 election, you look how poor the popularity was of Ronald Reagan, and then he won 49 states in 1984. Obviously, Trump can't run, may not run in the next election, but you could see the Republicans with a proper transformation of the economy being able to come back in the next election easily.
JD, we're going to leave it there, but thank you very much. That was JD Dambacher.
Thanks, JD.
He is a spokesperson for the Republican overseas. Interesting that, isn't it? So he's admitting that it might actually damage Trump's own party, the Republicans.
Short term.
Yeah. Well, short term. There are elections every 10 minutes in America.
Renee, here's the thing. If they get absolutely destroyed in the midterms, they will reverse course. Even if they don't, and it still leads to harm, the Democrats will win the next election. In 4 years, that's not enough time to re-industrialize the American economy, and in which case the Democrats will reverse all of this, and all of this will be for next to naught. That's the political reality.
Right, you're not whacking tariffs on cars or whatever. You're whacking tariffs on the material that is used to build those cars and those products.
You can't bring factories back overnight.
You cannot build these things in 10 minutes.
No.
Guys, do you want to jump in on that as well?
Look, the reality is that, and we know that actually the deal with the UK and the US that's been negotiated was basically ready to sign, but Trump said no because he wanted what was called a big bang moment, right? He wanted the shock and awe of placing immediate tariffs across the whole world. And he's right that if they sort of fiddled over little details, it wouldn't have happened. But he's done that. Now things will be rowed back with favoured countries. I think we will be one of them. Whether or not, we manage to get big carve-outs, what we give away is an important question. But, this idea that's going to hit them at the ballot box, I don't think there's going to be another free and fair presidential election for maybe. I honestly no. It is written in black it's written in black and white. Yeah, and he's said it himself in the last few weeks. Oh well, there's ways around, not having to run.
He's not going to stand. JD Vance will.
Yeah, and he'll be a puppet until Trump dies.
Something
basically.
Trey just said. Following up on you saying, "Oh, these things don't happen overnight." The reason that we are in such a mess, let me give you the NHS that I work in every day, is because for decades people have said, oh, well, we haven't got time to change that in this Parliament. We haven't got time to change it. I'm afraid it's not good enough. There isn't the luxury. That's a luxury belief. We have to change things because the system is broken.
But it feels like we need to do something. This is something. Let me take the sledgehammer to the economy and, look, it's different now. Well, yeah, it is. But it's probably worse.
You could have created special economic zones.
Trey, jump in as well. Sorry. sorry, yeah.
Well, you could have created special economic zones in the American Rust Belt where taxes are, or corporate taxes are 20% lower, encouraging investment in those areas. There are plenty of ways that you could do this that don't involve leftist tariffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it can even have been done a little bit more incrementally, like lowers and then maybe see how it goes. I know, but I think the problem is, I mean, one thing I do admire about him, he does what he says he's going to do. I mean, you can't argue with that.
That's true.
That's one thing you have to admire. So you know where he's standing. He doesn't do it. Yeah. But I think the way he's done it, it might actually be, shooting himself in the foot.
Yeah, and he doesn't tinker. He doesn't tinker. He doesn't. He goes for the big moment. And this is pure showmanship, lots of this. It wasn't really a well-thought-out policy. He's not doesn't really care about that.
With all the
board was... Look, the board was great.
And everything a little bit chaotic.
Showmanship.
It was incredible. Reality TV.
That's what's annoying me.
Including Elon Musk.
Will's declared his interest.
Will's not taking us for a pint.
My shares, which is my pension, it's really suffering. But I'm confident, stay with it, it will come back.
It will
Diamond
come
pause.
back.
Diamond pause.